Melissa Etheridge is a woman in a male-dominated milieu. She's also an open lesbian in a world where heterosexuality has traditionally been unquestioned. As a rock and roll star who plays guitar and writes her own songs, she has few peers and brings a unique sensibility to the music. She's been nominated for 3 Grammys and won 1. Her current single, Come to My Window, from her latest album, Yes I Am, is in the top 30, and we are pleased to have her here. Welcome.
Thank you very much.
Let me just talk about the album a little bit. Yes, I Am. Everybody's talked about, well, Yes, I Am. Does it have any connotation?
Yes, I am what? Yeah.
Yes, I am what? I mean, or was it written?
I wrote the song a couple of years ago, and I always knew I wanted to title an album that because I felt it was very strong, very straightforward, very powerful, owning that sort of strength. You know, Yes, I Am is a response to anything. And I also knew that after coming out that it would. You know, wink, wink, nudge, nudge would be part of it, too.
Yeah.
So.
Did you actually come out with K.D. Lang present?
Oh, yes.
Yeah. On stage, or where?
No, it was at the Clinton's inauguration.
Oh, that's right. They had a party,
or a
gay and lesbian
ball,
party or something.
The gay lesbian triangle ball, which was the most fun ball as far as I'm concerned. It was, and I was up on this, not a stage, it was like a balcony, but there were cameras on, there were thousands of people, and people were getting up and saying things, and they introduced K.D., and she said, you know, that coming out was the best thing I'd done all year, and I just got up and said, well, I'm proud to, you know, say I'm a lesbian, and didn't really know that I was coming out at the time, but of course the next day it was everywhere.
Yeah. What influence has she had on you both? I mean, as a friend, as a musician, as a
She's been a
sister?
friend, yeah, she's been a friend for about 5 years now, and we have gone through many of the same experiences, and that is very, you know, binding that way. And she
what kinds of experiences?
Well, just success in general, and also coming out. I was there helping her to come out. I was there saying, you know, your personality, you're strong. It's not going to hurt your music. Go for it, go for it. And she did, and I went, wait a minute, I should certainly listen to what I'm saying. You know, this is true.
And did she turn and say, well, if you're urging me, why don't you?
No. And I would not do that to someone else either. Yeah. I know that coming out is a very personal experience, not just you know, fear of your profession or your career, but it goes on down the line of fears that you've grown up with all your life, and it's a very personal step, and not for anyone to push anyone else.
Is it liberating for you?
Absolutely. I would recommend it. I would definitely recommend it. It has freed me up. It has. I am so open. I can come and I can talk to you, and I don't have to feel like I'm only giving you half of what it is. It's very freeing, to be honest.
And does that have an influence on the music?
I think it will. This album was actually made before I came out, but it was made knowing that I would. I knew I would come out. Yeah, I think so. I think that it opens up creatively. It opens up many writing veins, and for people to understand more of where I'm coming from. Although I don't write, you know, lesbian-oriented material.
And the lyrics are directed to you and to their.
Yeah, it's very gender-less.
They're gender neutral in a sense. But you have always. I asked you about the audience. You said the audience is about 60% women. Yeah, female. You think that's more because of you and where you stand in the music business as a woman rock star than it is because, you know, they knew.
Yeah, no.
You were maybe speaking to.
Yeah, it's always been. I've always had the majority of the audience was female, straight and gay, you know, both, and that means a lot to me that I'm reaching.
What's the musical heritage that you draw on?
Well, I grew up in the Midwest. I grew up in Kansas. And
that's Midwest.
You can't get more mid than that.
About where it goes.
Yeah, and I grew up with radio stations that used to play everything. They'd play a Beatles song, a Supreme song, Led Zeppelin, and then you know, Bobby Darin. And I grew up with my older sister's rock and roll. I grew up with my mother's Aretha Franklin albums. I grew up with my father's Neil Diamond. And I just learned to appreciate good songwriting and good music.
Part of the lore, though, is that about 3 years old, when you were 3 or 4, you said, I'm going to be a rock star, that you somehow had fixed on the Beatles or somebody.
I absolutely did. I remember hearing I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Yeah.
I remember picking up, you know, a tennis racket and jumping around the room, and it's just always what I wanted to do. It's been a drive.
And what about people? I mean, people talk about, I mean, the sort of the bluesy aspect of how you sing, and they think about Janis Joplin, or they think about Bob Seger, or they think about Rod Stewart in a different way, or they think about Springsteen, or they, you know, you go on and on.
Yeah, the legacy, the rock and roll.
These sort of rock and roll legends.
Yeah, well, this is what I grew up with. this is what I knew. I had Bob Seger, Bruce Springsteen. I actually didn't start listening to Janis Joplin until I was about 21. I didn't quite understand her when I was young. She kind of scared me. So much intensity and so much passion. And until I actually experienced that myself,
the intensity and the passion, experienced it personally.
Personally, until I had romantic experiences and heartbreak and desires and wants.
Yeah. A lot of people talk about you, and they talk about this notion of what you write about, because you write you write everything, don't you?
Yes.
You're not singing anybody else's songs, as far as I know. I mean, it's jealousy and betrayal, it's passion, it's obsession, it's all these sort of elemental forces are what you're singing about.
I'm singing about the human experience as I know it. I'm singing about what comes across in my life, what happens to me, the changes, what I learn, what I grow, and that deals with a lot with pain. Pain is a big part of that. A lot of people think I'm a very sad and depressed person because of this, but that's not so. I am just writing about those experiences, and those experiences that make me grow.
We often ask this in my business. What comes first for you? Do you hear the song, or do you hear the music, or do you hear the lyrics?
That is the most asked question in the
world.
world.
I'm so sorry.
And you
I
just asked it. No.
Here
it's
you
great.
saw me with Henry Kissinger, and you were so impressed, and then you realize I'm just like all the others.
No, but I've come to realize that people want to know that, because songwriting is an art, and it's a magical art form that there's an inspiration and then there's a song. And I really don't have an answer for it, because there is no formula for me. It starts with an inspiration. It might be words.
These words come with little musical legs, do
they? Yeah. Or it might be music. It might be something. But because I write and play and sing everything myself, it sometimes all comes at once and becomes a song right there.
Why is it? I mean, are you surprised that "Come to My Window" is done best from this album?
Kind of.
I am too.
Yeah, because what I think I do best is the more intense, more rock and roll, and this is kind of just to the side of that. Maybe that's why it's so popular, is it's not so intense. It's a little more middle of the road.
Before we see it, just talk a little bit about the lyrics.
The
We've
lyrics.
got a music video here.
Oh, great! This is one of my favorite videos. But the lyrics to the song are layered. Actually, there's the surface layer, which is I'm missing my lover. I want to go home. Is basically what that is, and the difficulties of getting there. And then below that, it's the difficulties in a relationship. Sometimes when you get into a situation where you cannot communicate with your partner anymore, and it's very hard, and you can't come together, and sometimes you have to decide to back up and come and meet at the window.
Okay, here it is. Roll tape.
I would dial the numbers just to listen.
All right. Don't you? All right. But you let me go back to Kansas. You're growing up, and you have all these factors, but you wanted to be a musician. You wanted to be the Beatles. You wanted to be, What about women? I mean, what gave you the idea that you could be? I mean, you didn't know much about Tina Turner or
no,
people.
I didn't, because no one said I couldn't.
Yeah.
I just didn't ever think that. I was growing up in the 60s and 70s. I was seeing Bruce Springsteen, with his first couple albums. I loved it. I wanted to be that. I didn't think, and there wasn't anyone to say, no, you can't be that.
And you first began doing a lot of country and western, didn't you?
Yeah. This is the music I started with when I was 12 and 13. I started playing in country western bands, singing Tammy Wynette and Loretta
When you were
Lynn.
12 and 13?
Yeah.
And touring at all, or just
well, my father would come with me to the it wasn't just me all by myself. I definitely had to get my parents' permission, and my father would. He really gave a lot to me back then. He took me to rehearsals. Took me to. I would not have the experience. I would not be the performer I am today if I did not have those experiences.
Yeah, and how about your mother's influence?
She was always the very.
She's watching, so you better get this right.
No, she was the very intelligent one. She really wanted me to go to college. She wasn't. She didn't discourage me, but she didn't know about this music business and what else.
Yeah.
She grew up with you
What
get a
might
college
happen to her little
education, right? You get a college education, you get a job, and you succeed in the world.
How were you when you had a breakthrough?
How old was I?
Yeah.
Well, there's been
It's been
a constant steps and constant breakthroughs. When I was 21, I moved to L.A.
Yeah.
When I was 23, I got a manager who opened the doors to many things, and then when I was 25, I got a record deal.
Now, all during this period, all your friends and everybody who knew you were lesbian, right? You're gay.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
everybody knew. Family knew.
I was playing in lesbian bars when the record companies would come see me, so I was very, very.
And you had no. I mean, I think it has had no influence on Katie Lang's career at all. I mean, in terms of it hasn't detracted from record sales.
It has helped.
And how about you?
Absolutely the same thing. Same thing. I have not found. I always imagined that if any radio station wouldn't play me because I'm a lesbian, they probably weren't playing me because I was a woman.
Yeah.
So it really, it hasn't been that at all.
And where do you see it sort of going? I mean, if there is a direction, where is it heading?
The career or the lesbianism?
Well, I'd take your choice.
You take my choice.
Yeah, whichever.
Well, I am.
Where is the lesbianism going? I mean,
well, it's interesting. This year has been very interesting.
You've become more politically active.
Because I've been more politically active. I've been more. People want to know more about me personally than ever before. It's always just been the music before. I'm growing on my personal side also.
Yeah.
So that.
How are you growing?
How am I growing? I'm learning to overcome fears.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, what kind of fears?
There was a fear of coming out.
Yeah.
That it would just be horrible and people would chew me up and that I couldn't do an interview like this. I know it's hard to understand, but when you grow up with a society that says this is bad, this is horrible, you're going to go to hell.
Right.
That still has an effect on me.
But coming out of the Midwest, did you feel that? I mean, did you felt anywhere some sense of guilt because you were true to your own sexual preference?
Sure. That's there, but that's the fear that I'm overcoming.
Yeah.
And that's how I'm growing.
But I would think you would have overcome it by now. I mean, that shows you how little I understand. But you know what I mean? I mean, by now.
Well, as adults, there are still fears that many of us are still, fighting and stuff. But I have definitely overcome it in a great sense.
Where is that movement going, you think? I mean, in terms, there was a thing that happened last year, I think, and help me on this, it is that, well, I think New York Magazine here in this city, its biggest selling, I could be corrected on this, its biggest selling issue was on lesbian chic, whatever that was, but K.D. Lang was probably on the cover.
Yeah. Well, this is a new
what is going on?
Thing. It's a new taboo. This is in a country that we've just been throwing all sorts of things, and we're trying to revolutionize sexuality and everything. This is something unique to a lot of people, and I think that people want to know. It's been hidden for so long that it is out. I think that the more out we get, and the more freedom and demanding civil rights and stuff we get, the harder the opposition's going to get. Also, the right that are so fearful and so afraid of sexuality in general, and we represent just, we just have sex for sex. It's not for procreation, so we must be just the evilest of evil, as far as they're concerned. And I think that the more vocal we get, the more they are too. And I think in the next few years you're going to see a major battle, and you're seeing it now being fought across the country in political arenas. Yeah.
How about the musical growth?
The musical growth. I'm doing a lot. I'm touring with this album. Yeah.
You're also going to do a number of dates with the Eagles.
With the Eagles, I'm opening for the Eagles. An excellent opportunity to play in front of 50,000 people at a time. I'm playing Woodstock.
Is that what they do? 50,000 people at
Texas
a time
Stadium,
for the Eagles?
There it was, yeah.
But that can't be. I mean,
it is. If you wait 14 years,
50,000 people.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing.
Huge speakers.
Yeah, very many of them stacked very high.
And so you're sort of spreading out and doing some big tours. And,
doing my own.
But no sense of direction. I mean, because yours has always been, the lyrics have been personal and passionate and about obsession and betrayal and jealousy and lost love. And,
all that stuff. Yes.
That's almost, a part of that's a country influence, don't you think?
Very much so. That open your heart and put it right out there.
Yeah. Great to see you. Pleasure to meet you.
Pleasure to meet you.
Thank you very much.
You again.
Melissa Etheridge, and the album is called Yes, I Am. We'll be right back. Stay with us.